Hello dear students. In this session, let us understand the concept of continuity of measure and how we can use this concept in our measure theory. So we have a theorem. The statement is Lebesgue measure possesses the following continuity properties. These two are continuity properties and we should prove that. The first statement is if AK is a collection, is an ascending collection of measurable set, then we have to prove that measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity, ak is equal to limit k tends to infinity measure of ak. And one more statement is they have given a descending collection and we should prove that this descending collection holds good for measure of intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk, which is equal to limit k tends to infinity measure of bk. So first of all, let's see what is ascending collection or ascending sequence or an increasing sequence. So if I say this countable collection is an ascending sequence, that means this sequence should be of the form, okay, AK is subset of AK plus 1. That means this is my A1, A2, A3, so on. So here you can see A1 is contained in A2, A2 is contained in A3. Any sequence of this form is said to be ascending sequence or an increasing sequence. The second thing is descending collection or descending sequence. Descending sequence means from this you can understand that if bk plus 1 is contained in bk, you can say bk is a descending sequence or an decreasing or a decreasing sequence. So it will be of the form, this is b1, b2, b3 like this. So you can see here b3 is contained in b2, that means b2 contains b3. Okay, so this will be bk plus 1 is contained in bk. Any sequence of this form is said to be descending sequence. So first the question arises is why we call this as a continuity of measure. Because from continuity function we have a property like g of limit n tends to infinity xn is equal to limit n tends to infinity g of xn. I will call this as equation 1. This is what we have, right? AK, where k is equal to 1 to infinity is an increasing sequence. That means from the definition of increasing sequence, I can write this as A1 subset of A2 subset of A3, so on. This is nothing but union of all AKs. So that means this is a limiting value of AK. Limiting value of AK. So from this continuity function definition, this means we are interchanging the limit function. Okay, we are interchanging limit and function. Are you understanding? So interchanging the limit and function in this measure theory, our function is m. So we are using this definition. You can see here this is the limiting value of AK. We are converting that to a function. Limiting value we are giving to the function. That means here the function is m. So the name is continuity of measure. So now let's prove this. Now this is my A case. I will write it here. This is my A case. So if any of A such that of this form, m of ak naught is equal to infinity, then I can say that this ak naught will be obviously subset of all union k is equal to 1 to infinity ak. So any of ak naught will be contained in any of this. That means union of ak. Now using monotonicity property of m, I can write this as m of union k is equal to 1 to infinity ak greater than or equal to m of ak naught. So we know that m of measure of ak naught is infinity. So greater than or equal to infinity, I can write it as measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity, ak is equal to infinity. So if I take in a reverse order, that means ak is superset of ak naught, isn't it? So you can see this ak naught will be subset of ak naught plus 1, this will be subset of ak naught plus 2, so on. From that I am choosing one of the ak's such that ak is a superset of ak naught. This is for all k greater than or equal to k naught. So again use monotonicity property of m of ak greater than or equal to m of ak naught. So if you take limit, what you will get? Limit k tends to infinity, m of ak will be obviously greater than measure of ak naught. But we know that measure of ak naught is equal to infinity. So I can write directly as limit k tends to infinity, m of ak is equal to infinity. So from these two, the given equality holds good. So now we should check the condition for ak naught greater than less than infinity. For equal to infinity, we have proved the theorem, but what in the case of less than infinity? Let's see that. For measure of ak naught, ak less than infinity, I am choosing my set as this is a1, a2, a3, a4. Okay. So since there is no a naught, I am defining a naught as 5, and this is C1, this is C2, this is C3, and this is C4. So from this figure you can write C1, this part C1 is nothing but A1 minus A naught. Okay, that means you can write this as A1 intersection A naught complement. Similarly C2 is nothing but A2 minus A1. If you subtract A2 and A1, these two, you will get C2. You can write that as A2 intersection A1 complement. So on for last one CK, I can write AK minus 1. Here all A's are Lebesgue measurable set as well as all C's are Lebesgue measurable set. Why CK's are Lebesgue measurable set? Because since AK's are Lebesgue measurable sets collection, I can write A2 minus A1 as A2 intersection A1 complement. Since AK's are Lebesgue measurable set, its complement is also Lebesgue measurable set. Intersection of two Lebesgue measurable set is also Lebesgue measurable set. So from that all CK's are also Lebesgue measurable set. And you can see here, all CK's are disjoint sets. So from this, since all union k is equal to 1 to infinity ak is equal to union k is equal to 1 to infinity ck, using countable additivity and all ck's are disjoint, I can write this, that is measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity ak is equal to measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity ck. So we know that this is equal to this. We have proved this theorem also, isn't it? So that means summation k is equal to 1 to infinity measure of ck. From this I know what is ck. Ck is ak minus 1. I'm just substituting here. So I should check what this will give. So I'm taking measure of ak minus 1 using excision property. You can check this in your notes. I have proved this theorem. So using that property, this will be equal to measure of ak minus measure of ak minus 1. Just substitute this value here and take summation. So if you expand for summation, before expanding, what I have done is I have taken summation k is equal to 1 to infinity and I'm just applying limit n tends to infinity. This is nothing but this. So if you expand your summation, you will get measure of an minus measure of an minus 1 plus measure of an minus 1 minus measure of an minus 2, so on up to measure of a1 minus measure of a0. So here these terms gets cancelled, minus plus, this is minus, you will get here one more term which is plus, so this will get cancelled with this term gets cancelled with this term. At the end you will get limit n tends to infinity measure of an minus measure of a naught. Since we know that a naught is equal to null, so measure of a naught will be obviously equal to 0. So you will get limit n tends to infinity measure of an. This is nothing but the first part of your proof. Similarly, in the second part, that is, we are considering descending sequence or a decreasing sequence, and I am defining my d1, d2, d3, d up to dk like this. Okay. So, b case or descending sequence, so it will be in the form of b1 superset of b2 superset of bk, b3, so on. So this will be equal to a collection of decays. So again, from countable additivity you can write this, isn't it? So measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity dk. From 1 means I have used this theorem here. So now I should find out what is dk. dk is nothing but b1 minus bk. So union of k is equal to 1 to infinity. This part we know that a1 minus a2, difference of two set, you can write it as a1 intersection a2 complement. I am using this form here. So it will be b1 intersection bk complement. Take out b1 outside. So intersection this, since k term is there for here, I am taking union for b case. So it will be bk complement. Using De Morgan's theorem, what this will convert to this form. We know that, right? So b1 intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk complement. So again I am writing this in difference of two sets form. Okay, this is b1 minus intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk. So now again, from excision property, measure of dk is equal to measure of b1 minus measure of bk. So now limit k tends to infinity, I am taking limit to this, measure of dk is equal to measure of union k is equal to 1 to infinity dk. So we know that what is union of k is equal to 1 to infinity dk, we have got that. So I am substituting that here, b1 minus intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk. So measure of b1 minus, again using excision property, I can write this as measure of b1 minus measure of intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk. So what I will get, this measure of b1 and this measure of b1 gets cancelled. You will get minus limit k tends to infinity measure of bk is equal to minus measure of intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity bk. Minus minus gets cancelled and you will get the required result. This is the proof of continuity of a measure theorem. This is one of the important property in your measure theory. The next topic is measurable function. So in order to define a measurable function, these are the sets I am considering. So E of f greater than alpha means I can write this set as x belongs to E such that f of x is greater than alpha. So similarly, if E of f is greater than or equal to alpha means I can write this as x belongs to E such that f of x is greater than or equal to alpha. So E of f less than alpha means x belongs to E such that f of x is less than alpha, and E of f greater than or equal, less than or equal to alpha means x belongs to E such that f of x is less than or equal to alpha. So if any of these four properties or four sets, any of this is measurable, then I can say f is a measurable function. measurable function, and we are defining this set in a extended real valued function. Extended real valued function. That means R union plus or minus infinity. For this domain, we are defining measurable function. If any of these condition is measurable, any one is fine, is measurable, then we can say this f is a measurable function. You can see here an extended real valued function f defined over a measurable set E. Measurable set E is said to be measurable if I'm just written one of the statement here, if this is measurable for every extended real number A. Okay, so we are denoting the whole set in this form. So in the remark 1, I have given that the condition 1 of the above definition, this definition, can be replaced by any of the three conditions. You can verify for this, or for this, any of these four you can verify. So the measure of the set E of f greater than A may be finite or infinite. Since we are using, we are considering our domain as extended real valued function, this A may be infinity or finite or infinite. If E is equal to R, then the set E of f greater than A becomes an open set. Since R is a Borel set, this will be equal to it. This set becomes an open set. So now let's prove this four properties. Let f be an extended real valued function defined on a measurable set E. Then the following statements are equivalent. So we have to prove this following statements are equivalent. That means 1 implies 2, 2 implies 1, 2 implies 3, 3 implies 2, 3 implies 4 and 4 implies 3. These statements we have to prove. So the statement is let f be an extended real valued function defined on a measurable set E. Then the following statements are equivalent. So let's prove one by one. They have given is f be an extended real valued function defined over a measurable set E. So we have to prove these statements are equivalent, isn't it? So first let us consider the first statement. To prove these four statements are equivalent, I'm choosing E of f greater than or equal to alpha is equal to this set. How this is possible? How can I define like this? Let's check whether I have defined in a right way or not in the first place. So what I will do is, you can look at here. E of f greater than or equal to alpha means x belongs to E such that f of x is greater than or equal to alpha, and I'm defining that is equal to intersection k is equal to 1 to infinity. X belongs to E such that f of x is greater than c minus 1 over k. So if I show my LHS is equal to RHS, then whatever I have considered is correct. Now what I will do is, I will consider one element x that belongs to my LHS part. Okay, I'm considering in this way, and I will prove this x belongs to RHS. So x belongs to LHS means this implies f of x will be greater than or equal to, let's take this as c itself, greater than or equal to c. This is for all k belongs to natural number n. So now what I will do is, if I subtract this c with any other natural number, then this whole term will strictly less than this function, isn't it? So f of x is greater than c minus 1 over k. I'm subtracting this part with some value so that this becomes strictly greater than. So now you can see this part is belongs to my RHS. So I'm considering what I have considered. I have considered my one element that is belongs to LHS, and I'm proving that element belongs to RHS. From this I can say LHS is subset of RHS. So if I prove this in a reverse way also, then that means LHS is equal to RHS. So I will consider X belongs to RHS now. I'm considering one element that is belonging to RHS, this part. That means f of X is greater than C minus 1 over K. Now if you remove this 1 over K, this is for all K belongs to N. So if you remove this part, then C may be less than or equal to f of X. So f of X is greater than or equal to C. So if you observe this, you can say X belongs to LHS. This means RHS is subset of LHS. So from these two, I can say LHS is equal to RHS. That means I have considered Lebesgue measurable set, and that is equal to another Lebesgue measurable set. So now you can define E of f greater than or equal to alpha as intersection n is equal to 1 to infinity E of f greater than alpha minus 1 by n. So we know that arbitrary intersection of measurable set is measurable. So this whole term is measurable. Similarly, for E of f greater than alpha, I am defining this as union of n is equal to 1 to infinity E of f greater than or equal to alpha plus 1 by n. Similarly, let me prove that whether I am considering in a right way or not. Let me check that first. So what I have considered, X belongs to E such that f of X greater than C is equal to union K is equal to 1 to infinity. X belongs to E such that f of X is greater than or equal to C plus 1 over K. Similar procedure I am using here. So that I'm considering one element that belongs to my LHS part. I will prove this element belongs to RHS also. So this implies f of X is greater than C. So if I add some number to this C, I may get equal to also, right? So f of X is greater than or equal to C plus 1 over K for all K belongs to N. You can observe this. This will belongs to my RHS part. So from this I can write X belongs to RHS. That means LHS is subset of RHS. Similarly, X belongs to RHS. This implies f of X is greater than or equal to C plus 1 over K. So this implies f of X is strictly greater than C. That means my X belongs to LHS. So RHS is subset of LHS. From these two again I can say LHS is equal to RHS. So whatever I have defined to prove the equivalent statements is correct. Now let's proceed further. So E of f greater than alpha can be rewritten as union of n is equal to 1 to infinity E of f greater than or equal to alpha plus 1 over n. We know that arbitrary union of measurable set is measurable. So we have proved 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1. Now I will consider, let's prove 2 implies 3. So that is E of f less than alpha. Less than alpha means greater than or equal to alpha's whole complement, isn't it? So From a property of measurable set, we know that if any set is measurable, then obviously its complement is also measurable. From that I can say a set is measurable if and only if its complement is measurable, means complement of every set is taken with respect to the set E. So 2 implies 3 as well as 3 implies 2. Now we will move to the last third. Let's see whether 3 implies 4 or not. So 3 implies 4 means E of f is less than or equal to alpha. Again I can rewritten this as intersection n is equal to 1 to infinity E of f less than alpha plus 1 over n. So again arbitrary intersection of a measurable set is measurable. So this holds good. Now I have to prove 4 implies 3. 4 is E of f less than or equal to alpha and 3 is E of f less than alpha. So using this, how can I prove? For E of f less than alpha, I can write this as union n is equal to 1 to infinity. I am using 4 here, that is less than or equal to alpha minus 1 over n. So again arbitrary union of measurable set is measurable, hence the proof. The next theorem is, if f is measurable function defined on E, then the set E of f is equal to alpha is measurable. Till here we have proved greater than or equal to, less than and less than or equal to. Here we are proving for f is equal to alpha. So again here we will come across two conditions, whether this f is equal to plus infinity or minus infinity or not equal to plus or minus infinity. So first we are considering alpha is not equal to plus or minus infinity. That means I can write E of f is equal to alpha as E of f greater than or equal to alpha intersection E of f less than or equal to alpha. So if you take intersection of these two, obviously you will get f is equal to alpha. So since f is measurable, they have given that f is measurable function. If f is measurable, then this is true from the definition of measurable function, that is E of f greater than or equal to alpha is measurable and E of f less than or equal to alpha also measurable. Since these two are measurable, we know that intersection of two set is measurable. Intersection of measurable set is again a measurable set. So from that I can say E of f is equal to alpha is measurable. Now let's choose the value when alpha is equal to infinity. So alpha is equal to infinity means I can write E of f greater than alpha n. So n is equal to 1 to infinity means it will approach to infinity. So again arbitrary intersection of measurable set is measurable. For minus infinity I am defining my set as n is intersection n is equal to 1 to infinity. E of f is less than minus n. So for minus n means minus infinity, again arbitrary intersection is there. So arbitrary intersection of measurable set is measurable. So this is the proof of this theorem. We are considering three cases in that theorem, that is, one is alpha is equal to infinity, alpha is equal to minus infinity and alpha is not equal to plus or minus infinity. For all the three cases we have proved f is equal to alpha is measurable. The next theorem is, let a function f be defined on a measurable set E, then f is measurable function if and only if f inverse of O is measurable for every open set. So O is nothing but open set. So we have to prove two parts, one is direct part and another is converse part. So the function f is like, if I consider this is my domain, that is E, Lebesgue measurable set, the range is an open set. Okay. What we have to prove? Its image is there in Lebesgue measurable set, that is nothing but f inverse of O, and this F inverse of O is Lebesgue measurable set. This is what they have given. If the image of this open set is here means F is Lebesgue measurable function. In the first part we have to prove that. Okay. For that what I have done is I have taken an interval. We know that any interval is a Lebesgue measurable set. So F inverse of O I can write it as x belongs to E. Since any interval is measurable set, so you can write that as in this form. X belongs to E such that f of x belongs to a comma infinity. That means f of x is in between a and infinity. So from measurable function definition, this is nothing but E of f greater than a. So F inverse of O is nothing but E of f greater than a. This means F inverse of a is measurable. So if F inverse of O is measurable means E of f greater than a is measurable. That means F is measurable on E. Okay, so in the converse part, we are assuming that F is a Lebesgue measurable function and we have to prove that F inverse O is Lebesgue measurable set for any open set O. For that, we are defining our open set as union AK BK. This is open and bounded intervals. Open and bounded intervals. Okay. So now I am defining my set as minus infinity t comma bk intersection ak comma infinity. This is nothing but my set ak comma bk or my interval. So now assume this is nothing but bk, this is nothing but ak. So if you substitute this to here, you will get O is equal to union of bk intersection ak. Now take inverse on both sides. You will get F inverse of O is equal to F inverse of union bk intersection ak. So union of F inverse bk intersection F inverse ak. You can write this as in this form. Here F inverse of bk is measurable and F inverse ak is also measurable. How? We know that F is Lebesgue measurable set. So F is Lebesgue measurable set means you can write this set x belongs to E such that f of x is less than bk is Lebesgue measurable set. So now this is nothing but F inverse of, I can write this as F inverse of minus infinity comma bk. Okay. This set, I can rewritten this set in this form. Since this is Lebesgue measurable set, obviously this is also Lebesgue measurable set. Minus infinity comma b